is the Nurses Doing GAMSAT podcast, brought to you by Thankfully GAMSAT. We're here to teach you how to smash the GAMSAT, get into medicine, and become a flippin' great doctor. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Nurses Doing GAMSAT. It is a solo episode for me today. So the other week, actually I say the other week, but actually every week I get a question over and over and over again. And I thought, I'm just going to deal with this. I'm going to talk all about it. I'm going to talk about everything that comes up around it. And that topic or that question that I get asked all the time is, am I too old to do this? Am I too old to sit the GAMSAT? Am I too old to start uni again? Am I too old to become a doctor? And look, it does not matter how old people are. Like, I get people asking me this when they're 24, when they're 28, when they're 32, when they're 39, when they're 44, when they're 50, when they're 60, when they're 70. It doesn't matter how old someone is. I get asked this at least once a week. And I want to start with a little exercise. Okay, so if you're watching along, just follow my lead. If you're listening, I want you to follow my lead, okay? I want you to look at the back of your hand and really see it. See the skin tone, the skin color, how many wrinkles you have, what rings or nails that you have. Do you have a little bit of hair there or whatever, okay? Really examine the back of your hand. Now, I want you to take your other hand and I want you to give yourself a little slap and just go, I'm not too old. No, you are never too old to go after your dream. This is a limiting belief. This is a limiting belief that people put on themselves. And one way to remove a limiting belief is to show you what's possible, to talk about what people have done so that you can then go, well, if they've done it, I'm going to do it. Because the reality is this, am I too old business that people tell themselves, it's just a story that you've made up in your head. If you were saying this right now, it is literally just a story that you have made up. It is not reality. So I want to start by kind of going through a couple of real world success stories of people who have changed professions and who have done it very successfully. Okay, so let's start with Julia Child. You know, the famous cooking lady, the culinary expert. She literally didn't start her career until 40. And then she literally became one of the most famous chefs of the world, I think. Let's think about Vera Wang. You know, the fashion designer who's like, everybody wants to wear her wedding dresses. She became a fashion designer at 40 years old. Let's think about Samuel L. Jackson, you know, like Smooth Voice, who's in Pulp Fiction. He started acting at 46 and in very small roles, okay? So you do not need to go, oh my God, I'm a certain age, I cannot start, I cannot change. Now, if I think about the GAMSAT world, I've been doing this for 18 years, so I've got so many examples, but I'll give you a few. I had Alicia, who was a nurse in her late 20s. She sat it twice before joining the boot camp, got straight into deacon. I've got Nadia. Nadia is an interesting story, 44 years old, couple of kids, lived in rural Victoria, husband's a concreter, got in, changed. I've got Jenny. Jenny came to me when she was in her 60s in New Zealand, and she moved to Australia for medical school once she got in. So, like, to me, you got to hear these stories. It doesn't matter how old you are. It is possible for you to make a change. Now, the other thing that I want to remind you of, because I can give you all these examples and stories of people who've done it before, which is very, very good, but I want you to also understand how the universities work. Okay, so most universities at this point for postgraduate med have something called PBLs that they use within their kind of learning structure. PBL stands for problem-based learning. It's a Socratic style of learning. And it actually requires all different types of perspectives. So you're going to go to lectures, you're going to learn the content, the stuff, the things. And then for your tutorials, they're going to be PBLs, where they'll basically drop in a like a problem in the middle of a small group. So say 5, 7, 10 people. And there'll be a tutor there, and the 5, 7, 10 people within your group, within your PBL, need to go and have a conversation and start figuring out what the answer is to whatever the issue is, using what you've learned already. And the point of the tutor is never to give you the answer. The point is to kind of steer you if you're going off track, so that you can all learn the kind of problem solving and skills that are outside of the actual content you're learning, but more skill setty. So with Socratic style of learning, if everybody is exactly the same, if we're all white and we're all 20 something and we've all got biomed backgrounds and we're all the same ethnicity and nobody has anything different that's happened in their life whatsoever, Socratic learning doesn't work, because you're going to have the same thinking style. So when you have a PBL, diversity is key. We need different races. We need different religions. We need different age groups. We need different ways of thinking. We need biomed students and nurses and physios and lawyers and journalists and everyone with like all these different skill sets, because you're bringing in different perspectives to the work, which means that Socratic style of learning works. So when someone comes to me and goes, oh my God, I'm not in my 20s anymore. Should I change my career? This is so big. Will I get in? You got to realize that the system is designed for people like you. We do not want robots in medicine. It is bad for patient outcomes if people are all thinking in exactly the same way. So actually, if you want to flip it on its head, you are needed. We need more people of your age, whatever it is, right? You are needed. Now, I'm particularly talking to my 40-somethings or 50-somethings here. Probably the biggest age group of people that are asking me this question are like late 30s, early 40s, going on to 50s. But I do get people, even at 23 years old, asking me this question as well. So age doesn't actually matter. But I really want to focus to people who have some life experience here, because that's probably what makes you good at your work. It's probably the fact that you got life experience, the fact that you have a different perspective. You can think about things. Maybe you got a few kids and you know how to do things. So when you have kids or when you have worked in a career for some time, your skill set is very different to someone who's a little bit younger. So you're probably going to have better organizational skills. You're probably going to have better time management skills. You're probably going to have just a range of things that you've done. And like, think about when you were 19 years old as an example. Like, you're not living your life the same way right now as you were when you were 19. I certainly am not. I think about some of the dates that I went on when I was 19 years old. That's not a good thing. Like, I'm kind of glad I'm not with those people. So like, I just want you to think like your age, instead of it being a factor that is holding you back, I want you to start to embrace it and start to see that that is something that is actually not only useful, but it is required for the university system to work. And I want you to feel inspired, particularly for people with kids. And I know that I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I'm going to say it again. I know, and I can speak from my experience. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like from my experience, my daughter does not listen to me, right? Like she's 7, she got her own personality, but I know she's watching me. I know that she is looking at what I'm doing with my life, and that is the model that she's going to take into her life for the rest of her life. So if you are unfulfilled in your job and you know you have more in you and you know you want more, then I feel like as a mother or a father, it's your responsibility to show your kids what it looks like to go after your dream. Now, is it going to be hard? Yes. It's like not going to be smooth sailing. Shit happens, right? Like that is normal. However, if your kids see you doing the steps that it takes to go after your dreams, they're not going to go after your dreams, but they're going to do those steps for their dreams. And what you're doing is you're empowering your children through your actions to enable them to live their best life. I'm not saying they're going to be a doctor. I'm not saying they're going to be a dentist or whatever your dreams are. Don't need to be their dreams. But if they want to be a ballerina or an astronaut or whatever, that's going to take work. That's going to take some sacrifices. That's sometimes going to take them saying no to invitations or things or, staying up late and studying or doing whatever they need to do to make it happen. So to me, like, when you're older, you have kids, you have other responsibilities, that to me is even more imperative that you go after your dreams and you go and get it. Now, as someone that's a little bit older, I totally understand it's going to need a little bit more organization, probably on the financial front. How are we going to work? How are we going to drop kids to school? How are we going to do things? But guess what? You've done harder stuff than that. Honestly, I've done harder. Like, you can figure it out. Any of it, you can figure out. So you have two options here today, okay? You can look at what I said and you can use that as an excuse to not move forward in your dream. You can go, well, all these people did it and I can't do it, and I got kids and I got all these things and I'm 45 years old now and it's going to be too hard. And you can use those excuses. And I'm not going to stop you, right? If that's what all it takes to stop you going after your dream, then, hey, I'm not here to stop any of that. But you can also take the second option and you can change at any moment and you can use all of those excuses to flip them on their head and say, I have to do this now. I'm 45 years old. I ain't going to live forever. I don't want to be doing this career forever. I have to make the move now. If I don't make it now, when else am I going to make it? Let's go. Or I've got kids. They're young. Great. That's why I have to do it. And often I find the reason why people say they can't do something is exactly the reason why they must. But we need to have that perspective shift. So to me, there's so many people who have done it before you. There's so many people that have paved the way. We definitely know it's possible because if someone else has done it, it is possible. And I can promise you, whatever age you're at, someone has gotten into medical school before. And then the second thing, we can use whatever limiting belief that you have, flip it on its head and use that as the exact reason why you need to do it, and you need to do it right now. So I'd love to hear your stories about this. Jump into our Facebook group, Nurses Doing GAMSAT. If you've got more questions about, what it is that, you're experiencing, and if you're at your age too old, spoiler alert, I'm going to say no. Doesn't matter what the age is, I'm going to be like, no, you're not too old. But I really invite you to share your own experiences. And if you're listening to this and you have gotten in and you're more of a mature age student, please jump in the Facebook group and give everybody else encouragement as well, because we definitely want to hear your experience. So thanks for listening. I am excited to be back next week, and go out and smash it. Just use this now as fuel to go out, study, do what you need to do. Reach out to somebody, give them a hug and say, I'm going to effing do this now. It is my time. It is my time. I love it. Go and enjoy your day. Bye for now. Hey, I have a cool gift for you just for listening to the Nurses Doing GAMSAT podcast. We do some of our best work in our Facebook group called, you guessed it, Nurses Doing GAMSAT. It's free to join, and every day we're sharing actionable guides, tips and tricks, and really just how to smash the exam and get into medicine. You can join today by searching Nurses Doing GAMSAT on Facebook. Thanks for listening to another episode, and I'll see you next time.